and I am an MSc Microbiologist in Malareddy University. Today I am going to discuss with you about Introduction to Microbiology. And in definition, microbiology is the study of living organisms that are microscopic in size. They are included with bacteria, fungi, algae, protozoa and viruses. There are different microbial groups that are prokaryotic, protists, example bacteria. Bacteria is a unicellular prokaryote which has incipient or false nucleus, which is also called as nucleoid, which is devoid of nuclear membrane. Now the bacteria is able to reproduce as a unicellular organism in the binary fission form, which means a single cell that becomes two by exactly divided into two halves, okay, which becomes a new individual. Another bacterium is known as cyanobacteria, which is also called as blue-green algae, okay, which is able to produce nitrogen, or it fixes the nitrogen in azolla in the form of nitrogen. Then, its practical significance or importance of microorganisms is that it causes diseases and in humans, in animals and in plants, which is also able to do the soil fertilization in the form of biofertilizers. Now, it is able to spoil the food materials such as Clostridium and Salmonella. Okay, it also able to spoil, contaminate the water, which is called Salmonella typhi, that contaminates the water and leads to typhoid infections. And it is able to ferment the foods, okay, which is a benefit for us. And then eukaryotic protists, which are algae, protozoa and fungi. Coming to algae, relatively they are simple organisms in their structures, there is no much difference among them. And coming to the large brown algae, which is a complex structure which forms underwater forests and that helps the sea creatures to have nutrition. Now the algae also has chlorophyll, which helps in photosynthesis. Now they grow also in the damp soils. Coming to fungi, fungi are into groups that are yeasts and molds. Yeasts are unicellular eukaryotic fungi and they are able to produce different foods such as bread and wine, and molds that are also called as mushrooms that forms a mycelium, and we cannot categorize them into branches or leaves since they are collectively forming a pins or molds, mycelium. Okay. Now, they may lead to different diseases like rust and smuts in different parts of the plants. Okay. Coming to protozoa. Protozoa are unicellular eukaryotes. Protozoa has its nutritionally, morphologically and physiologically they are different from other organisms because they feed on dead and decayed organic matter and they don't have cell wall, and such protozoa causes infections in humans in the form of malaria, for example plasmodium. The next one is viruses. Viruses are acellular obligate parasites, which means they can strictly grow inside a living cell. And the viruses are infectious agents and that may cause prion diseases. Viruses are also called as the causative agents of diseases in humans, animals and in plants. Now why viruses are categorized under microorganisms is because the techniques we use to study viruses is microbiological in nature. Example, we observed viruses under electron microscope. Coming to important groups of microorganisms. For example, microorganisms occur everywhere in nature, on the mountain tops, in the oceans, and the air we breathe, and the foods we eat. Okay? So, as the conditions for the survival and growth of microorganisms are similar to that of human beings. Now, they are into different groups. For example, fungi, they are of two effects. One is beneficial, the other one is harmful effect. Now, fungi that causes infections to humans, plants and animals such as athletic foods in humans, and the beneficial fungi that are mycorrhizal fungi, they are also helping in organic acid productions. Okay, and there are bacteria. Bacteria are able to produce different foods such as the yogurt and cheese. And when it comes to harmful effects of bacteria are mostly the foodborne pathogenicity, which is called foodborne illness, okay, that leads to foodborne diseases. Now coming to the yeast may cause infections. Yeast may lead to food spoilage, such as sugary foods. And yeast beneficial effects are that helps in producing the wine and other different alcoholic beverages. Okay. Now viruses are also groups. Most of the viruses that help in insecticide production, but however, mostly they are harmful as they are infectious agents. For example, COVID-19 is caused by coronavirus, okay, virus. Coming to beneficial effects of two bacterium are insulin production by E. coli and then lactobacillus species that produces the cheese and the yogurt. Okay. There are foods that are produced by different bacteria such as the lactobacillus vulgaris, and that it is able to produce cheese, etc. Next is, what is the importance of microorganisms at cellular level? They are able to help us to study the fundamental processes of life, since all the cellular properties that takes place in humans, in mouse, and in microorganisms are similar to each other, since they are the attractive models for us to study the fundamental processes of life. Now, they are usually growing with very rapid growth, as E. coli takes 20 minutes in order to divide one cell to two as a unicellular bacterium. Okay, it will take 48 cells to become within just 2 hours of time. And then another problem that says that one cell that weighs 9.5 to 10 power minus 13 grams, it says that the bacterium that is capable of producing 80,000 tons of population within 25.5 hours, if it is added with nutrients, but only concern is that the limiting nutrient concentration, okay, which means the bacterial, physiological and metabolic activities are very rapid. Okay. Now, then is the biochemical potentials and physiological properties are the attractive models for us to learn about the higher organisms and their life processes. Coming to a scientist named Selwyn Waxman, who is the antibiotic discoverer, which is called streptomycin, from a soil bacterium named Streptomyces species. Thank you.